Hello and welcome back to Jane on the Craft Planet. Today I'm going to make a design using some of Lavinia Stamp's new steampunk release, and I've chosen some cool colours. So I've got a cool palette today in paint. I've got Paperartsy paints out. I've got Sargasso, Granny Smith, Blue Lagoon, and I wanted some shimmer in this. So I've got a DYLUSIONS paint, shimmer paint in Calypso Teal as well. And for my base, I'm just going to paint up a patchwork of boxes on a 5x7 card blank. And as I say, I'm going for a steampunk theme. First of all, I'm just going to have a look at the sizes of the stamps I've picked out and just roughly pencil out. Actually, I think I will use a ruler. I'm going to pencil out some boxes on this card, which will hopefully fit all the stamps in. So where's my ruler? Right, so we'll have about, I'll just lie that straight on my mat so I get my lines straight-ish. We'll have that about there. So just lightly, because I'm going to paint over them, but I do want them there just slightly, and about another inch down. Another one to about there. Then 1.5 inches down, I'll have the line straight across, I think. Yeah, I'm just going to split that one just to this side. Let's see, about there. And then I'm going to split the bottom to, let's see, about 1 inch across, because I don't want them all the same. And then I'll just put a line in there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shapes, mainly boxes. This is a bit of an L shape, but I mean, that's fine. And I'm just going to paint those out. So I just want my paint on very lightly. So I'll just grab some sponges. Get 4 sponges. These will be fine. I've used them before, but they'll be absolutely fine. And I'm just going to pop some paint on my mat. I'm going to start with the lightest one, just because I always start with the lightest one. And get a nice base down. So this is the, what colour is this? This is Granny Smith. Oh, well, I'm obviously doing this box in the light one because I've just splattered it. So here goes. This is rough, very light coat, and it doesn't have to be neat in the lines. If you aim for neat in the lines, well, you'll never get there, but you don't really want to be spending hours just putting a base down, the background down. So if you want to be neat, you can be, but it's completely unnecessary. So that's just a very, very light coat of Granny Smith in 2 of the boxes to start with, because as I say, I'm going to make a patchworky effect. And next colour I'm going to go for is the Sargasso. And I'll just pop some on my mat there. And just pick that up on another sponge. Where are we? I'll just use this one. And in the Sargasso, I'm going to paint up just a couple of more boxes. I'm just random. Try and get them so that they're not totally touching each other. I mean, it's probably impossible, but we've got that one. I'll do the top one as well. As I say, do this as light as possible, because we're going to put a couple of coats on. But I don't want to be sat here waiting hours for paint to dry. There's nothing worse than waiting for paint to dry. Is the Blue Lagoon. Oh, I said London. I think London Blue might be it is a paint colour, but I can't quite think who it's by at the minute. Oh, that's come out in a funny way. Never mind. Right, so London Blue. And I'm going to, let's see, because I want some shimmer on here as well. That one and that one. Yeah, the London Blue. I'll do this bottom one. You can see I'm hardly putting any paint on. and I will do this one. As you can see, that overlapping, it wouldn't matter at this stage if they were overlapping or if there were sort of white gaps in between. So that's some of the Blue Lagoon on. And then I've got my shimmer, which is quite a similar colour to the Blue Lagoon, but that's absolutely fine. And I'll pop the shimmer. Just check. It is open. I sometimes find the shimmer paints don't squeeze very well. So I'll just stick some shimmer on there. I'll pick that up and we'll put the shimmer across this middle bit. Right, and that's fine. So I'm just going in for a second coat on the Granny Smith. Don't mop up from your craft mat or your paint palette after this, because we're all going to use all these colours again. We're going to use them all the way through because I'm going to do some stenciling. What I've got in my mind, I'm going to do stenciling and I'm going to do doodling. I'm not going to obviously be doodling with paint, but just get a nice coverage at this point. Back to the Sargasso. And the Blue Lagoon. These are Paperartsy paints. They've got a chalk base, if you didn't know, they've got a chalk base. And because I'm wanting to doodle over them and stamp on them, the ink from the stamping dries a lot quicker on them, but it also, it doesn't bleed as much. Not bleed, it doesn't, oh, when you come to put the permanent ink on the stamp and you stamp on them, it doesn't smudge as much when you're stamping. I'm sure you know what I mean. It doesn't get that, when you stamp down on chalk paint, you stamp down and the stamp stays where it is. On acrylic paints that have got a lot of plastics in them, it can slide quite easy, but on the chalk ones it doesn't. That's why I'm using the chalk. So that's both my layers, and that will only just take a second to dry. I'm going to stencil over all these in the same colours, but I'm going to stencil over with a different colour to what's in the blocks. So I'll start with the light one. I've pulled out 3 of the stencils from the new March 2023 Lavinia release, and I've got Honeycomb, Filigree and Waffle. So just at random, I'm just going to pick one. At random, let's have a think. I'll use this one. So I'll pop that over. No, I'm not. I'll use this one. I'll pop that just over the top of the entire thing. And on the Sargasso, I'm starting with the lightest one on the next lightest one. So, oh, I don't need that much paint. I can see a mop-up page coming. So on the Sargasso, I'm just going to lightly pop in. It doesn't have to be everywhere. If you look from where I'm doing it, I'm just sort of just dabbing on. It doesn't have to be everywhere. I'm just dabbing it on just slightly so it dries really quick. You hardly see this when it's finished, but this is the part that we're going to be doodling as well. So that's the Granny Smith over the Sargasso. Then I'm going to put the Sargasso over, let's think, over the blue. Yeah, over the next darkest, which is the blue, which was Blue Lagoon. I do get there in the end. As I said, just lightly, and you're not looking for sort of a perfect stenciled result. This is just totally relaxing and chill out time. And then I'm going to go with the shimmer paint, and I'm going to put the shimmer paint over the Granny Smith. Now I'm going to take that stencil off, and then I'm going to just take another one randomly, and over where I've got the shimmer, I'm just going to choose, let's have a look. I'm going to choose the Granny Smith. I'm going to pop that on. You can use as many different stencils from your stash as you want to do this. I picked 3 out, but I think I've only used 2. Yeah, I'd also picked out honeycomb, but I haven't used the honeycomb. I've just used the 2. But see, you could use a different one in every single block if you wanted. Now you'll see the Granny Smith sort of, I've splodged a bigger piece in this area. It really doesn't matter. I'm now going to yeah, that's dry already because I'm just putting so little paint on. It's drying really fast. I'm now going to use some of the larger stencils from Lavinia, and I've picked out white orbs, cobbles, cogs, and red brick. I'm definitely using red brick, so I'll go with that first. Now I'm going to stencil over these again, but I'm going to use another colour on them. So we'll just get that down, and I'm only going to do a couple of patches, so I think I'll choose this one and this one, and on these I'm going to use, on this one I'm going to use another blue. No, I won't. I'm going to use the Sargasso, sorry. So far we've got 2 of the colours. Actually, I have used Sargasso. I'm going to use, you want to use the 3rd colour, the colour that you haven't used. So I'm going to put in, on this one, I'm putting in Granny Smith. So on this one, we've now got all 3 colours. I'm going to do the same on the other blue one. Actually, I might not use all the big ones. I might just use a couple of the big ones. So we've got the brick effect on that one. And then on the shimmer one, I want to keep the shimmer. So I'm just going to pick up some more shimmer paint and just go over the top and add that brick effect. Right, I'm going to pop that one off because I am going to use more than one. So I've now got my base coat, my smaller stencil and my larger stencil in 3 colours on those areas. Let's have a look. What shall I do next? I think I'll do cobbles because I do really like the cobbles one, so we'll pop that one down. Now I'm trying to remember what colours I've got. I can put some blue in these 2 because these haven't got blue on them. So I'm picking up Blue Lagoon, and as before, you don't have to do the whole area, it's just a suggestion. Just pop that one there. That was the Blue Lagoon. I'm going to change again just because I can, and I'm going to pick up, actually I'm not going to use the cogs. I'm going to use the white orbs. And where haven't I got any? Right, so that's on these 2 squares. I haven't got any of the large stenciling, and they've got yellow, blue, they can have some Sargasso on them. I'm going to use the medium part of this, the medium part, about there, and pick up, just need a tiny more bit of my green out. Well, I mean a tiny bit. That'll do. You're going to see how mean I am with picking things up from my mat in a moment. And on this square at the top, I'm just going to pop in just some stenciling, some from that one, and my other square was over this side, so I'm just going to pop some on there. So as you can see, I'm just doing patches. I'm not filling the whole, I'm seeing square, they're just sort of rectangles in different shapes. So now I've got a base on, then I've got a small stencil, and I've got a larger stencil stenciled over the top. I'll just get those off to the side for washing. That's them over there now, so they don't fall on the floor. I'll just move this out the way to dry. This won't take 5 minutes to dry. Oh, that shimmer looks lovely. This won't take 5 minutes to dry because I've done very, very light coats. I'm just going to rip this off my mat. Where's my cleaning spray? As always, my cleaning spray is just a small bottle, tiny little bit of household spray, no wipe cleaner. I filled it with water. It's not anything fancy. And because I already had a dirty wipe, I'll use that just to clean this. Right, I'm not going to use any of this paint again, but I don't want to waste anything that I've got left. So let me have a look for a piece of spare card. There's a piece of card, and basically all I'll do with that, if that gives a stencil, I'll just Pick anything up I can. Just lightly stencil. These pages, my accident pages, my mop-up pages, sometimes end up absolutely brilliant. There's some of that, and at this side I'll just clean anything off my, I don't know if I'm in shot. Just check if I'm in shot. Yes, I'll just clean up anything from my sponge that I can get off my sponge and anything left on the mat. And I'll do that for all of them. No rhyme, no reason when I do this. I just, oh, there's a big dollop of paint there. Get off. I just use up what I can. I'm not one for waste. I do plan to add quite a few videos to this channel over time. I'd like to do a couple of week and just build up my ideas so I've got a good database for me, and hopefully what I'd love to do is maybe inspire someone who comes across these just to have a go at something. You know, there might be an idea that you've never thought of in here and you can just have a go. I will be having very easy to follow tutorials. I will mention all the products as I go through, and I must stress that I'm not affiliated with any of the companies whose products I use. Oh, that's looking pretty, that mop-up. And I think there's a little bit of shimmer left. Oh, it's only a tiny bit. But I'll just pop that. Have I got a small? Just pop that. Just pop the filigree stencil over. And this stenciling that I'm doing on this is just going over. I'm going over the top of other ones. Not really thinking about it. Just being totally random. And that's as much as what I can recycle. Right, so stick that over to one side to dry. And I'll get the rest of this paint off my mat. The idea I've got in my head, I'm going to use a couple of the Lavinia florals, and one's a toadstool. In a way, I'm sure they were never designed to be used, and hopefully my idea will work. Right, I always clean my paint lids every time I use them. So I'll just give those a quick wipe because I'm terrible for putting things away without cleaning them, and then I come to actually use them again and discover that all the top's dried out. Ooh. Right, off we go again. I'm quite happy with that result so far. Just going to get some scrap paper to stamp on. Oh no, I'm not actually, because I want to hold this quite steady. What I'll do, I've got a stamping board. I've got a stamping board with magnets on because I don't want this moving at all. So this is, I have no idea whose product this is, but it's just a magnetic metal board. And what I do is I get a couple of sheets of paper, and I just pop the couple of sheets of paper on the board. Then I get what I'm going to work on, and I just bob the magnets just at the corners when I don't want something to move. Right, what have I got? Let's have a look. I have picked out 2 stamps from Lavinia. One is Fairy Tale Thistles. I think there's this one, which is 378, and the other one is Toadstool, Spotty Toadstool, and it's 363. I'm going to use the Spotty Toadstool first, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create borders around all of the shapes that I've just done. So I've got my VersaFine CLAIR pigment ink, archival in Nocturn, and I'm just going to ink up that stem just the stem, not the, where's my lovely cleaning cloth that I refer to as dirty. Right, so, and I'm going to do the lines across first. So I'm just finding where I think that matches, and I'll just pop that down. I have got dozens and dozens of line making stamps and mark making stamps, but sometimes I just like to sit down, pull a box of stamps, for example, this time my Lavinias, and not have to go looking through every stamp box I've got for the stamp that actually I would have used if I had gone through them all. And I just look at the stamps in my collections, as I said, this time Lavinia's collection, and I just work out if they can do the same job without just having to pull another collection of stamps out. And in this case, yep, I believe this will work perfectly. So I'm just going to stamp that whole thing across there. Even though I've said it's chalk paint, it's really easy to stamp on, I would still hold your ink in place just for an extra second or two than you normally would just on card, just so that it sinks in, because we have got the 3 layers in places. And if you find when you're doing this, your stamping is not perfect, you've got, you know, you sort of, it wiggles a little bit or it's not coming out clear for any reason, it does not matter at this point, and you'll see why. You'll see why when I come to use these blocks when I've got them all blocked in. So each time just hold it for a little bit. You see we're getting a lovely line across. Tell you what would be good from the Lavinia collection for doing this as a ladder stamp, and that would be excellent for doing this. I shall just start, that one starts there. When you're doing this, if you make it so that most of your shapes meet the edges, it's much easier to stamp them. If you've got a square isolated in the middle or an oblong, you'd have to use something to just mask off your stamping around it to get your line. Now I've only got a little bit there, so I'll demonstrate that. And just give me a piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is just stick that spare piece of paper just there, so that when I put this stamp on, I can just line up with where I want it to go, and just stamp that little bit extra. You'll see that this stem on the toadstool it's shaped large and small. Oh, that's matched up perfect. So what I'll do is I'll match up the larger end with the larger end just to finish off this line. And you'll see how I haven't met perfect, I haven't met perfect, haven't met perfect. That all adds, seriously, that all adds to the design. Or at least I'm hoping it does. I mean, this is only in my head at the minute. But if I can transfer to this what's in my head, this will add to the design. Oh dear. Yeah, that's looking good. I've got another line here. So I'll just ink up again. It took me a long time to decide on my favourite archival ink, and I've got to say VersaFine CLAIR has won out. I did use a lot of STAYS-ON, but which is excellent, gives you a nice clean crisp image as well, but I just didn't like the smell. And I think we have just got the one line left. I do recommend, if you can, keeping your paper secure, your card secure while you do this. And we should just do that last one. Oh, over inking. I'm terrible for that. I have to wash every time I do a project. I have to wash off my stamp acrylics because of my over inking. And there we have it. So all the boxes are now enclosed by a borderline. I'm going to put an edge all the way around. And this is where you think I really have lost the plot at using stamps of what they were not probably designed for. I have got this one, which is Fairy Thistle. And this one's got 1, 2, 3, it's got 4 stems on it. So I'm just going to use the last part of the stem. I'm not blotting that yet. Just the last part of the stem. I'm going to try and not do that when I'm inking. And I'm going to just start in the middle somewhere. Now, it doesn't matter if you do, I'm doing first and second with this. It doesn't matter if you don't get them all at the same sort of distance from the edge coming in over. It doesn't matter if you don't get them the same distance apart. I'm going to do that one slightly smaller, as you see. This all just adds something, and I think I'll do a first, a second, and a third. Doesn't matter if you overstamp on lines you've already stamped. I'm going to leave the corner clear. Yes, I'm going to leave the corner clear because I've got a little idea of what I might do in the corner. Probably, no, I'll not put a third. I'm getting a bit carried away thinking I'll put a third generation on. And again, I'll just leave that corner clear. I'm just going to turn my board around. And off I go again for this edge. I don't know if you're like me, but once I get an idea in my head, I just have to go for it. And this one, I've thought about for a couple of hours, and then I thought, you know, no, I'm just going to go and do it. I want this border to be quite heavy, but not to be a focal point, because everything on here I want to act as background. And the stamping will be the focal points, the image stamping that I'm going to do, and the doodling will bring out the areas of the background I want to bring out. I will shade the edges in, I think, which will take some of the stamping I'm doing now. It will take some of the... Oh, that one actually slid a little bit. Whoop! It's probably because I've got sparkle paint under there. Right, nearly there on this side. I've gone quite near that corner, but it doesn't really matter, because I'm just going to doodle a little bit in the corners, I think. Just move my magnets up. I do like projects where imperfect is perfect. Right, so there we go. Just give that stamp a wipe. So I just used a beautiful Lavinia Thistle stamp as a mark maker. But I think sometimes we don't, you know, well, personally, I just look at my stamps and I see them as what they are, as in that one, a thistle. I'll just put another sheet under there for stamping the images, because I do want the images to be a little bit crisp, and that'll just give it a little bit more. Now, what's the top and what's the bottom? What do I think? I think it's going that way. I will blot this at this point, because when I come to do the rest of the stamping, I don't want to smudge my lines. And there we are. And I'll just turn that over, because you can see there's quite a bit comes off. And I'll just blot that again. There's not really any need to heat dry it, I don't think, at this point. I will heat dry it at the end process just for a second or two, just to make sure before I go sticking it onto my card that I haven't got any wet ink that I can smudge. There's still a little bit more comes off, but that's absolutely fine. Right, I will just hold these in place and bring in some stamps that I picked out. I've got I made a note because there's no way I would remember the names of them all. I've got a one from the large cog. No, this is, oh, I haven't even written this one down. This is a pocket watch. This is a large cog from the cog set. I put a Masquerade, the Mask on 201. Goggles, which is 780. The word steampunk, the word TikTok. I put some numbers out as well, so I've pulled quite a few. And when I was drawing these boxes, I was thinking goggles might fit in there, steampunk might fit on there. You know, I was just sort of thinking where different things might fit. So I'm pretty certain I wanted it that way around. Yeah, I think I want it that way around. I'm going to start at the top and stamp down over. This one, let's have a look. We could go with steampunk. Oh, actually, I did an L shape here. That I've just blocked off. It doesn't matter. So this is the beauty of doing a project like this. I did actually draw that out to be an L shape because I was thinking steampunk would fit here. But I'm going to put it there. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, I did make that box longer because I knew I had the long steampunk stamp. But as I say, just go with the flow, you know. Just go with the flow. No stress, no bother. Yes. And we'll just put steampunk in here. Now, while I'm stamping these out, you might think, oh, that looks a little bit lonely in that box. I could have done with a bit more. There is more to come into the boxes. Not a lot, but there is more to come into that I'm going to put into the boxes. So I shall just get on and stamp something in each of these boxes. Beautiful. And I'll just give that a wipe with Dirty Gertie. And next one, this corner, I think we'll go with a cog. I did get a cog out, didn't I? Oh no, this is a clock. I haven't actually used any. Oh, this has a clock face on it, but this is from the cog set. Once again, over inking. Do you know, I don't think it matters how many years I've stamped for, I will always over ink. I'll just position that up nicely. Pop that down and hold it for a few minutes. I haven't done a lot of designs yet with the new Steampunk March release from Lavinia, but the ones that I have done, I've done 3 or 4. I'm really enjoying the images. I'm finding them really quite versatile. And that's that one. I'll just give that a wipe. I think we'll have the goggles next. The goggles, I think will be, let me just audition them. Yep, we're going to have the goggles in that one. Don't overthink this kind of process. Don't plan for hours, because I think that totally spoils the enjoyment. You do have to think about it when you're drawing the box of the shapes out for what stamps you're planning on using. I mean, this idea I think would look stunning in oranges and yellows. Well, orange autumnally colours, and stamping one of the silhouette little animal creatures or 2 in each box. I think that would look cute. I think it would be stunning, actually. Might just have to do it. If I do make one like that, I'll pop the picture on my the Craft Planet Facebook group. And that's the Cobbles done. What have I got next? This is quite a big space. Let me have a look, see if this fits. Yes. Well, that was, you think I had planned that out, wouldn't you? I hadn't planned it out within a degree of its life, but so far so good. Watch, I'll be left with a stamp that I can't fit anywhere. Oh. And we'll just hold that in place and let that ink just settle. The detail Lavinia manages to get into the stamps is stunning. They are lovely to work with. I do recommend the Lavinia products. On this one I've used the Lavinia stamps and stencils, haven't I? Yep. It's a nice image. And again. Right, what else have I got? I've got TikTok, the numbers, and the mask. Let's have a look how big the mask is. Oh, that goes there, lovely. TikTok and numbers. Right, so we're doing TikTok next. TikTok. This is quite, oh, definitely over ink in there. This is quite a versatile word. TikTok, you could have it on quite a lot of, wouldn't even be steampunk, would it? You could have this on loads of things. And I'll just pop that one there. This is only the second sort of tutorial video that I'm doing for YouTube, and I did just notice there that I was probably half out the picture. So rather than stop and start again, I'm leaving it warts and all, as they say. I will learn from my experience of doing this, and hopefully I'll get my setup so that I don't even have to think about it, and I can just come in and record a video anytime I want without thinking, am I in shot? And please, I did check there because I'm certain this half of the design was actually slightly out. And this is Masquerade stamp 790. So far I've used this on, oh, I think she's called Mia, the new head and shoulders design, and I've also put it on Noof the big cat. That I haven't finished colouring that one in or whatever with that one, but it actually fitted Noof lovely. Right, and I've got some numbers, so what I'll do with the numbers is I'll just audition them in the space. Let's have a look. 2, I think that's a 6. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll just make a little pattern with them, just so put them on like this, just so that I know I've got them there. 2. This actually means absolutely nothing. The numbers aren't signifying anything, but I could, you could have the numbers. I'll just pop those 2 off there because I'm only going to use the 3. You could have the numbers to signify birthdays, anniversary dates. You could put your telephone number on a Valentine card. So if you're inclined to send like secret Valentine cards to anyone, you could actually put your telephone number on the front and not actually write on what it was that you had put on, just mix all the numbers up, and then if the person worked out that was your number, they might phone you back. I don't know how my mind works some days. I am leaving that space blank, you'll see why in a little while. So I'm now at the point where that's all the stamping done. We are going to do a little bit more to this card. Not a lot, but just a few other little touches I want to add. I am going to block that quite heavily this time. Then I'll get my desk tidied up and we'll do some doodling. This is quite quick actually. This is not, I mean, I know there's quite a few processes, but it's coming along quite quick. Don't jump ahead without blotting. It's really not worth it. Yeah, I'm happy that's going to be fine actually when I'm working on it. I'm just going to get rid of my metal board because I no longer need that. And I'll just get some, I'll pop this on a white sheet. The white sheet doesn't serve any purpose for crafting. It's just there so that I know that what's on that white sheet should be in my video shot. It's not for any other crafting purpose. I'm just going to get this ink off my hands a little bit. I'm not that keen on leaving archival ink to set. On my hands. Right. Not looking too bad. What I've got now is I'm just going to get a white pen, gel pen, SIGNO pen, UNIBALL pen. I like the UNIBALL SIGNO. I'm using the broad for this. I also like the Jelly Roll by Sakura pens as well, but I'm just going to use this this SIGNO broad. Test on hand as usual. That's my little go-to test place. And I'm just going to doodle. And I will get another piece of paper just to cover the bottom, so I'm not leaning on when I'm doodling. And I'm looking in here for where I used my smaller stencil primarily. You can look for your smaller stencil or you can look for your larger one for doing doodling. So I'm just going to, where I can see the smaller stencil, I'm just going to highlight in some areas, not everywhere. I'm just going to highlight where the smaller stencil was. And just doodle the shapes in. This one was a triangle. Can't actually see any in that top section, so I won't be putting any in. And your doodling doesn't have to be perfect. I'll just move that down a little bit because I can see a little bit there. Your doodling does not have to be perfect. It's just enough that you're highlighting it. I'm just going to highlight the central dot on that clock face. I might forget to do this, but I've every intention of putting a pair of clock hands on this, but I won't do it till last, until it's actually completely on the card. And this one, I'm going to go with the larger stencil on this one, and I'm just going to doodle around, and just a couple of rough lines in and around. It doesn't have to be anything perfect. And you don't have to actually be hitting the actual stencil lines. Just, there's not really much point in doodling into the edges on this kind of thing. And I have gone ahead and done most of the circles I could see. I haven't done that one there, just for the sake of it. Right. The goggles, I can see the brick design. I can see the small one, I also see the brick design, and I love the brick design, so I'm just going to highlight some of the bricks. You can do as much doodling or as little as you want. I just find it really brings out the design. And I can just see that one ends there. And I'll have that one there and there. This one's got the bricks on again, but it's also got the diamonds. First off, I'm gonna highlight the bricks. The bricks are more, yeah. So I'm just gonna highlight a few bricks. Bring that one across. Don't sit and think about it. I mean, just have a look, see what's jumping out at you, see what you think would be the best to highlight. So I've highlighted some bricks, but I want a little bit more highlight on here, so I am going to just do a couple of the smaller stencil diamonds. I'm not going mad. Maybe that brick just there. Yep. On this one, it's definitely the diamonds on this one, I think. Yes, it's definitely the diamonds. I mean, I'm not, I don't have a rhyme or reason for what I'm highlighting. I'm just looking and seeing what would possibly work the best. This one's got the circles on as well. My thinking here is I've already highlighted the circles on this one, so I'll highlight the diamonds on this one. Actually, I have got a circle there I'll highlight. That's enough for that one. Oh, a mask. The mask has got, this now. The mask has got the blocks shown quite heavily, the bricks, so we're on bricks again. But I'm going slightly outside the grouting line even on these bricks because it's in shimmer, or at least it looks like it's shimmer, or inside the brick. Because I don't want to doodle out the shimmer paint. I'm pretty certain that's shimmer, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's gorgeous. And what I'd say is don't do an isolated brick on its own when you, or if you've got a square pattern, sort of join a few to it, because oh, actually we're mixing up here because I can see these better at this end. One little doodle on its own will just stick out like a sore thumb. So if you look at your piece now and you think, oh, this bit here, this one little doodle on its own looks a bit much, it's standing out, just add a couple more around it, or just one, so it connects to something. And I'm going to do that one there. So that's not the only, possibly there, so that's not the only circle on that one. Right, and the last one is Cobbles. I'm going to highlight inside the Cobbles. Yeah, just highlight inside, not every one. You don't have to be an artist to do this kind of thing. You really don't. I'll have that there. And I think that's enough doodling for the card. Might just, no, I'm going to be overdoing it. So that's all the doodling done. One more simple little step. Oh, I'll just highlight the middle of that because I can. And I think I might just highlight any enclosed like circles or half moons in the words, because I think that just brings the words out a little bit when you remove the background colour. It just highlights them a little bit. Yep, I'm liking that. I'm going to, actually I'm seeing one, there are actually two little things left to do. I'm bringing in my Lavinia Elements ink and my really small stenciling brush. This is number 3. Whoop. I should just pick some ink up. I don't want to over ink these edges, so I don't mind the corners being darker, so I'll just come in Do the corner first and then just a very gentle, not rushing it particularly, but just a gentle circular motion off the paper onto the card sort of thing. If I pick any more ink up, I'll start from the corner again. That way if anything, I'll get that full framed look, won't I? I find turning my card, so I did that on this side, I find turning my card for me is the easiest way for me to do this. I can't really go round, you know, round each edge as it is. I don't want to put any fingerprints on my design. Yep. And just up there, nice and slowly, just at the round movements. Just picked up more ink, so I've started from the corner. I'm just moving down. This doesn't have to be even, like all the rest of this card, apart from your image stamping. Image stamping. I was going to say stampery. Your image stamping, nothing really needs to be neat, even, or you know, sort of thought about to be perfect. Because I think a lot of this is in the imperfection, as I say. Right. Now we're at that point. I'm just going to pop that on there. Right, I'm going to add just a couple of little finishing touches to this. You could do so much more. You could add glitters, you could add shimmers, all sorts. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to write in a couple of the blocks. And on this block, in this circle, I'm going to write the year, which is 2023. And the bottom block here, I'm going to pop my initials. So you could use these doodled blocks to write messages. You could write sort of happy birthday, Betty, congratulations on your wedding anniversary, but you could write them small so they don't stand out in your face like a full sentiment. You've already got your, you know, your imagery there that you've got as your focal points, but you could write different things in the different blocks. And in this block here, this one, I'm going to write March because it is March. So I've got March 2023 and my initials. I'll leave it at that. Now usually I'm not going to do this on video, I'm just going to blot on the video. Usually I'll give this a really good dry before I put it onto my card. So we'll just have a little. I find the Lavinia Elements inks, they dry really nicely and quickly. They don't really transfer. You just give them a chance, maybe a bit longer than what I have, to dry off. So you get your line around. Just do this a couple of times if you haven't got a heat tool, or leave it on your bench overnight. Now, that's the finished design, more or less. And just give my hands a little wipe. Yeah, that's all fine. I don't want to completely ruin this. When I'm mounting it onto my card. This is my card blank. My initial card here is 5 by 7, and I believe I'll have to measure it. And my card blank is 5.5 by 7.5. So I've left a quarter, which is just a little bit more than I normally would, because I think it really needs to be fully framed, this kind of thing, when you've got so much busyness going on. So I shall just pop my glue on, my bibbidi bobbidi glue. Oh, which of course I haven't cleaned the nozzle on. And if you knew me, you'd know that is not my usual. Right, so just pop some around all the edges. All the edges, through the middle. Right, and then, as always, I smudge my edges so nothing can, if I put that down it'll be easier, so nothing can, splodge out, squidge out. Just pick an extra bit of glue from there, just for there, onto my card. And it gets the glue nicely up to, just to the edges. So I'll just turn that over, pop my card blank on. Position. I usually position my four corners to where I'm happy with. Slightly up. You do get a nice bit of wiggle room with a bibbidi bobbidi. Slightly up. Yep, and then I just go ahead and stick another piece on top. And I do a little shimmy in my chair. And give that a rub. I will just pop my, clean my nib on my bibbidi bobbidi glue this time. And pop the cap on in a timely fashion, so when I pick it up next time it works, it does work immediately. And just double check that's in the right place. Yes, it is. I'll just give that another rub over. So all that's left to do with this card is to create an insert, which I usually do with a why not? Yeah, that's better. Which I usually do with a sheet of paper, vellum, whatever, and pop it inside. And I'll probably pop maybe a couple of numbers on it, or a little bit stenciling. Actually, I should have probably, if I was going to do stenciling, I would have done it when I was doing the stenciling. But I'll probably pop a couple of numbers on, or TikTok, and a little verse inside. I did say I was going to put a time on the clock, so let's have a look what time it actually is at the minute. I haven't got a clock in here, so Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 5:45 p.m.
5:45 p.m. So we'll have a 5 and we'll have a 45. Oh, well, I've done 4:45 p.m. because we should have had nearer a 6, shouldn't we? Never mind. There we are. I think that's suitable for anyone, really. I did think it might come out a more masculine vibe, but I'm just getting a funky, groovy steampunk vibe from this. And I just hope that I've inspired. I have got another little highlight. I am going to bring those eyes out. The eyes. There aren't any eyes. It's a mask. I'm going to highlight behind. I don't know about you, but I tend to put I put my cards or my designs on display in my craft room, and then I discover a few hours later that I just want to go and do that one little something, and I might just put how am I going to do that, like a little hashtag, just a little supposed reflection on these glasses. Right, not touching it again. This is my Lavinia Steampunk Collection inspired card for today, and I hope I've inspired someone. Thanks again for viewing. Come back and visit the Craft Planet soon. Cheerio. Bye bye for now.